Hello and welcome to the Michael Clark Show podcast, where every Wednesday I'll bring you an interview with a different special guest. Many will be from the world of sport. All of them have a story worth sharing. In a time when doom and gloom is all too easy to find, this is a place where we'll be promoting the positive. So I hope you'll keep me company each week as I explore where our guests get their motivation and inspiration from to succeed. Hello everyone, welcome back once again. It's episode 15 of the Michael Clark Show podcast, and we have another stellar guest joining us this week to celebrate Northern Ireland's women making another historical moment, this time in futsal, getting their first ever victory. And this woman has been a huge part of the futsal journey in this country. It's Heather Mearns. Heather, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Michael. It's nice to be on. So Thank you for trying to put futsal out there.
No, definitely. I mean, as I say, you've been there right from the start, and in fact, you were Northern Ireland's first goal scorer in competitive action in Uri against Belgium.
Yeah, first goal scorer and probably the worst goal ever as well. Against Belgium, I think they stopped because their keeper was injured, but I just put it in the net anyway. So it counted, didn't it?
Of course it counted, and maybe that's a good place to start. It shows you the competitive streak that you have in you, because whilst everybody else was waiting to see what was going on, you had only one thing in mind.
Yeah, I'm not known for my goal scoring, but there we go. I'll take that.
But always a battler. And I mean, futsal in Northern Ireland, a lot of people probably still aren't aware that it's as big as it is and that we're competing internationally at it. How did it come about for you, first of all? Who got you on board?
I remember years ago, and I'm talking a long time ago, Jackie Blythe, she started up a futsal league. Now, I can't even remember the setup of it, but I remember Crusaders, we always entered it. But obviously over the years, that's been built up and there's more teams entered it. I think there's a couple of different leagues now, and then you go into a knockout. But it was advertised on the IFA page about trials for the first international team, and I always loved futsal because I just like to get the ball, so you get more touches. So I put my name forward to go for the trials, and there was a few of us who were playing last week actually got through those trials, so we've been around from the start.
That's amazing to think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there have been a few players that have come in since then, whether it be because Keith's watched them play for their club team in the futsal, or, you know, or just they've put their name forward and came down to try out, and they've done well. So, but the majority of the team that were away last week came through the very first trials and have been around since then and played in the last Euros or played in the friendlies against Gibraltar or some of the English teams. So, been around quite a while now.
For anyone that hasn't watched futsal and is wondering how similar or different it is to indoor football, what would your answer be?
Well, it is indoor. So I got that bit right. It is different. Indoor football, you play with a nice big bouncy ball and you knock it off the walls, or you do whatever you want to do. But, you know, futsal is a much more technical game. So the ball is it's smaller. It's a size 4. It's a wee bit heavier. It doesn't kind of bounce the way a normal indoor football would, so your touch needs to be better. Obviously futsal, there's different rules, so we play to the lines, we take kick-ins, we take corners, the nets are a different size, you know. Indoor football's more of a kick around, isn't it? But I mean, futsal's an international sport. There's players, I don't know if you ever watch Barcelona and stuff have futsal teams, so I don't think they have a 5-a-side team, so that's a big difference as well.
The pace of it is incredible. It's such a fun sport to get into, and when the BBC asked me to go along and commentate on your first competitive games in 2018, I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, to be totally honest, but immediately I loved it.
Yeah, that's quite often the question when someone says, "Oh, what are you going there for?" and you say futsal, and they go, "What?" And then you explain it, and they say, "Oh, so 5-a-sides." But And I think everyone was in the same boat when we hosted the last Euros. So unless you kind of played football, you didn't really know. And in fact, unless you played women's football, you didn't really know, because although there is a proper men's league, I don't think there's as many men involved outside of the futsal league, if that makes sense, where all the girls football teams all get involved every year in the futsal is kind of like an off-season thing where, you know, ourselves and probably Cliftonville maybe take it serious where other teams don't really. But yeah, that definitely helped kind of grow the interest in it. And I think kind of after that then the league was probably the biggest yet that the IFA ran. So that was good to see. And then obviously in the last year, there hasn't been any indoor sports. So don't know how big it would have been last year.
I know the timing of it's so frustrating as well, and hopefully it looks like we're nearly in a position where we can start getting back to those things. And I mean, us mere mortals, not international competitors such as yourself, obviously, you were off competing in Lithuania. And on that, let's get in there early and talk about that. How special to get your first win, that 1-0 victory against Lithuania?
Yeah, listen, it's great. I mean, it's our second ever Euros. I think the last Euros we were put in, I suppose, the group of death, really. But again, that's looking at it from a football context, so we didn't really know much for a futsal context. But the last Euros, we were in a group with Belgium, Sweden, and Holland, and I think we were very unfortunate not to take something away from the Belgium game. So going into this Euros, we kind of had that hanging over us, that where we done well the last time round. Obviously, we hadn't. I know we had won friendlies and stuff before, but that was a huge target for us. We knew that we could definitely get points on the board in Lithuania, so that was definitely one of our targets. We were a wee bit disappointed in the first game, winning 1-0 at half time. They ended up getting beat 4-1 by Serbia, but I think when we went 2-1 down, we had to start high pressing them, and they were able to pick us off at the back. So going into a Lithuania game, we knew it was a massive chance for us to get points on the board. So took us a while to make the breakthrough, but thankfully we did, and obviously didn't concede, so went on to get 3 points. It was brilliant. Really happy for all the girls.
I was going to say that's something now you can build on too, because whatever sport we're talking about, confidence and that sort of winning habit is a thing that when you get that first win off your back, the mentality shifts, and now you start to think, well, we've done it before, we can go and do it again.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, anything I do, I want to win. That's the type of person I am. But as you say, it's just getting that monkey off your back. And, you know, although we only won 1-0 against Lithuania, we probably should have scored a lot more. I think we had all the possession and we were trying to force it a wee bit because we knew it was there for the taking, you know. And then when we did score, we sort of went a wee bit panicked, I suppose. But you know, it was great when the final whistle went and obviously got the first 3 points on the board. And, you know, the reaction from back home on social media and through the IFA and BBC and everything else, you know, the interest's bound to have grown after that. So people didn't even know what futsal was. I think I did an interview with Nicola McCarthy.
Yeah.
And she said the boy from the radio who was announcing the score actually had to ring her to ask her what futsal was before he gave the score over the radio. So I'm not sure who that was, but it just shows you if we hadn't won that game, he probably still wouldn't know what it was. So.
And I think we're seeing that with, you know, women's sport in general. It wasn't that long ago that people wouldn't have really known much about the women's Premiership and what teams are competing there and what players are good players and who's who in the league. And in the last couple of years, we've seen increased coverage. And obviously with the success of the women's national team in the football, it's all kind of culminating in a really exciting time.
Definitely. You know, NIFL have to credit them since they took over the women's Premiership. You know, it's out there, it's known. They're always putting the videos out. They're putting previews up. All the different clubs. I mean, we're really lucky at Crusaders, so our men have always been 100% behind us. Like, obviously we don't get paid, but apart from that, in terms of kit, tracksuits, training, whatever, we get the same as the men. You know, anything we kind of ask for, they bend over backwards to help us. So we're very lucky. I know that's not the same for all the clubs, but it is starting to go that way. So just getting things out there on social media and NIFL have been great. They've really, really pushed it. And then there are a lot more better players. The competition's much higher. It used to just be really ourselves and Glentoran pushing for the league. And then over the years, you've seen Newry and Linfield and back to Glentoran. Not back to us just yet. We'll get there. So it is good that there's much more competition in the league, and it just shows that there's much more better players spread across the league now. So more people are interested in it because it is more competitive. So, which also helps the international team, of course, as well.
If we go right back to when you were a wee girl and interested in football, were there many of your mates who were interested in football and wanted to come and train with you, or what was it like?
Well, I played football in the streets with the boys, so up my way, there wasn't any girls' football teams. I don't think I played for a football team till I was 14, to be honest. So,
which is
partly
really
because,
if you were to think about it in any other terms, you'd think, gosh, you're a late starter, but that's just the way it was.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, there were quite a few girls who maybe did start a wee bit earlier, but it was just, I just didn't know of any. I actually think how I got involved at Crusaders, which was Newton Strikers back then. Sarah Booth, she was in taking our summer scheme in Shankill Leisure Centre. So that's really how I knew about Newton Strikers, and ended up going there when I was quite young. So bar 2 years where I played for Linfield, we'll blank that out. I've always been a Crusaders, so but yeah, 14, it is quite late, especially now when I consider what 14-year-olds are like now, when I was still playing football in the street at that age. So it just shows there's better structures in place. It's very easy for my wee niece. She started playing when she was 4. She plays at our academy, so it's great. We've 4 and 5-year-olds who are brilliant already, all for all the age of them, and the pathways that are in place, and all the different games development programs for the kids to go and play in, which are non-competitive. So it means, well, you know what some coaches are like, but they should be non-competitive. It means they can just go and enjoy it and get a game every week. So it's brilliant. It's come a long way in the last, what's that, about 20 years?
There's not much difference in age between the pair of us, and I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. There was definitely an attitude, and people don't like to talk about it, but there definitely was an attitude that football was kind of something the boys did, and girls didn't really play football. And how have we got to a place where we've overcome that, or have we overcome it yet?
No, not completely. I think there's always going to be that. Now, in fairness, a lot of the fellas that would probably say that are probably sitting on the sofa with a beer and a takeaway watching United and think they know everything. But no, it has come a long way, and credit to the IFA, Alfie, for obviously starting up the senior women's team and all the excellence programs, and the clubs bringing girls in, and then all the different strategies that the IFA have implemented as well over the years have really helped to drive that forward. And it helps that there are a lot of good players coming through. I mean, Julie Nelson, who I've known from obviously I was a kid, she's well over 100 caps and a brilliant role model, and I think young boys can also look up to her, because there's not many fellas go on to earn 100 caps or play across nearly 20 years as well. If you think about it, she's been playing from she was 16, so it's a long career in international football.
Well, she's had an incredible career, and you look at Ashley Hutton and what she's achieved now as well, and there'll be more as well, which is the really, really exciting thing, and qualifying for a major tournament for the first time. Just what has that been like as a football fan, Heather? Forget as a player or anything else, just as a fan, what has that been like to see Northern Ireland's women achieve what they have lately?
Amazing. Kenny Shields, he's something else. Like, I mean, obviously Alfie put in all the groundwork for a long time, and he's came in and he's totally changed the philosophy. What's actually really good is they're quite exciting to watch. You know, the football's good as well, so they're starting to build a brand, and it's good because as a coach, you're kind of coaching good habits in the players. So it's nice then that they can go and watch the senior women's team, and they're keeping the ball really well and creating good chances. And you know, I know loads of our young kids were completely buzzing. Emily and Julie, both Crusaders players, obviously came down to the academy training, and it was crazy just watching all the wee ones. They were like starstruck, where they're just my mates, and you're going, wise up. but I understand, you know, it's a massive deal for the kids coming through. It's a massive deal for everybody. It's been involved in women's football in the country for a long time. It's been a long time coming. I know over the years some of the under-19 teams and stuff have performed quite well. In fact, a lot of those under-19 players that got through, was it the first elite rounds, first under-19 team through the elite rounds, was all like Simone McGill and Kirsty McGuinness and stuff. So there you go, they're performing that at the senior stage and doing really well. So it's been a long time coming.
And now starting to get that recognition that you would expect for an international star.
Pardon?
And now starting to get that recognition that you would expect for a player at that level, because there definitely wasn't that before, where people were able to see them on their TVs and know their names and their faces.
Definitely. Again, that's down to all the sort of media teams and all the news outlets really putting it out there. Because I mean, there have been really good results over the years, but obviously it wasn't getting put out there, so it's difficult for the public to kind of know what's going on or who's who. But I mean, you walk down the JD and you've got, is it Demi Vance at the minute in the window of JD in the new away kit, and that's where it should be. You know, it's given all the young kids role models, female role models instead of male role models, growing up.
When you were getting into training, and obviously Sarah Booth played a great part early doors, and she's not done bad for herself since then. Now FIFA, I feel like we sort of curtsy in her presence or something. But who were your role models, be they male or female? Who were the people that when you were a kid you thought, I wish I could play football like them?
Well, it wasn't really females because, as I say, obviously I came to football quite late, but I'm a huge Rangers fan, so it was basically anybody that played for Rangers, your Gazes, you know, your Lerdrups, anyone like that. Maybe if I had came to football a wee bit earlier, there might have been female ones, but again, what year was it? Was it 2006? The senior international team started up, so there wasn't even a senior international team when I was younger, so there was nobody to look up to. Except maybe senior players in the squad. And I know growing up when at Crusaders, I think it probably was players like Sarah Booth, Rosie Clark, Rosie McFeely. They were the types of players I was looking up to. Just even their professionalism back then, and how they carried themselves and the way they trained, and how they played, obviously, on match day. They were brilliant role models growing up as well.
So where did the football bug come from? Was it a family member or a friend, or what started it?
My dad was big into his football, so I think he was decent enough. He was in the army and stuff, so he played for the army team, and when he was home, kind of played for just local teams really. But I think he was actually quite decent at it. But he always says he remembers watching the World Cup the year I was born as a baby, holding me in his arms, and he says that's where I got it from. But yeah, just growing up around my dad, my uncles, going down to watch my dad play on a Saturday, just always loved it. Always kicking the ball about in the street with all the wee lads. I was always a tomboy. I don't think I was going to go any other way, to be honest.
So your family were not surprised when they saw you starting to play for Newton Abbey Strikers, obviously now Crusaders Strikers?
No, not really. Not at all. Probably the biggest surprise was Crusaders, my daddy being a massive Linfield fan, but apart from that, no. It was something I always wanted to do, and we just, back then, before I was 14, we didn't really know of any teams, and now there were a lot of girls who played in boys teams back then, but I didn't even know that was allowed, or I would have went and joined the local boys team with some of my my friends, but I didn't even know you could do that, to be honest.
And you've had an amazing time with Crusaders, league titles, and a fair share of silverware too. What have been some of your favourite moments at the club, apart from obviously the friendships you've made?
Yeah, well, definitely the friendships I've made. Some of the players that are around at the minute, Danielle, Julie, I've knew them for 20 years now. Like it's crazy. Some of the best moments, obviously, league titles, but our Champions League trips, they're hard to beat. Being away with the girls for a week or whatever it is, and you're all together all the time. Some of the banter and the memories from those are just unbelievable. When I think back to those, I'm always telling my kids that I coach about different wee stories and some of the fun that you have away those trips, because obviously I really want that for them, and I think they all really want that, and we try to take them away on trips even now, just to start building them memories, because that's definitely the best part.
And on those trips, how much did you get to let your hair down, and how much was sort of serious football time? Be honest.
Well, I think it was really just after the games, maybe on the last night, you could let your hair down a wee bit, but leading up to that, obviously it was very serious. Some of the teams that we played were really excellent. I think the first Champions League trip I went on, I think Kenny Shields was actually our manager at the time. I think I was only maybe 17, and we played, I think in our league back here, we were still playing, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes, a half, and we went to Sweden and played Umeå, I think you called them, and they had won. They were previous winners of the Women's European Cup or whatever it was back then, but I think they beat us 15-0 in the second game, maybe. I can't remember if it was the opening game or the second game, but looking back at the times when they scored all the goals, it was in the last 5 minutes, each half. So it was kind of posed an argument of why we should be playing 45 minutes as opposed to the 40-minute halves, But regardless of that, that was just an unbelievable experience. They were rocking up, to the matches with their own cars, with their names and numbers and all on the side, even way back then. I think that was 2003, maybe.
It's crazy seeing the difference, isn't it? Like the Scandinavian nations seem to have got this sussed a lot sooner than Northern Ireland has. And, when you see like the way Norway were preparing for games against Northern Ireland, staying in Dublin for, what was it, a week or two, and having their own training camps and everything, and then we girls trying to get out of work to come and play an international game.
I know, it's nuts, but I mean, the more better results we get, obviously the more fun we're going to get, so hopefully the girls going and qualifying for the Euros next year, it's a big catalyst maybe, and just getting more money pumped into it. Obviously we have a lot of girls coming out of work to go and play, but that would be solved if they were full-time professionals. I know we're lucky to have a couple, but there's some smashing kids coming through the pathway now who, I'll be really surprised if they don't end up across the water on a full-time contract. Some really brilliant players, so hopefully, the more that go over there, then maybe we can prepare the same way then for Northern Ireland games.
Talking to you and from a previous episode of this podcast when we had Alfie Wiley on, it seems like a really exciting time in terms of the development and where football is headed for young girls, and obviously there's a pathway there which is a lot clearer, more defined coaching structures, etc. Do you think futsal actually fits into that too, in terms of developing the technique and the skills of younger players? Should that be something that we look at maybe during the summer months?
Well, I know in a lot of other countries, footballers kind of either start off playing futsal or only play futsal. So it isn't very often kind of the other way around. But I know England have it on their curriculum for some of their younger kids. It's good in terms of obviously helping kids with their composure on the ball, quick decision making because of the tighter area, movement off the ball. That's a massive thing for futsal. I don't know if you watched the Slovakia game against us, I mean, their movement was just unreal, just the rotations, you know. It was, because we're still sort of playing futsal a wee bit like footballers, where I think if it had been the other way around, it might have been a bit better for us. But in terms of stuff like that and teaching the different principles about pressing a player, standing up, cutting passing lanes off, stuff like that, it would be really useful, yeah. But I mean, there's just so much football to get through as well. I don't really know where to make time for futsal, to be honest, if they're already in that pathway.
Watching futsal, I think still people just get excited when they see a fly keeper. Don't they? Like, they go, rolling subs are kind of cool, but fly keepers, wow.
Unfortunately, we haven't got to use a fly keeper just yet. They keep asking Keith, can I be our fly keeper? But he's not liking that idea. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a running joke when we're in training, and I'm sure you've seen Alice, you know, Alice, the goalkeeper. Anytime she's been over, you know, if it's on, she'll just roll it out and start running up the courtway, and away she goes. So we're still learning the game, so I think we'll leave the fly keeper for a bit, but definitely adds a wee bit more excitement to it when teams go do that.
All these other teams are worried about their fly keeper, you know, coming out and playing outfield or whatever. Alice can score from her own net. I was there for that goal against Sweden, so I'm sure she still talks about it because it went viral.
Oh, definitely.
Why bother dribble?
I know, 100%. Yeah, I remember that because match of the day, I don't know, there was something crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you're laughing at the comments below it, you know, criticising the other keeper. I mean, the other keeper came out with it, and Alice says she's tried that, I don't know how many times, and never done it. You know, she's got the right height, the right dip on it, so unbelievable. She didn't score this time right now. Even though I scored by her. I will not talk about that though.
I was going to be really kind and not bring that up.
Yeah, I'll bring it up before you do.
She must be one of a number of big personalities. I know certainly anytime you have a game, and people seem to always comment, and I feel a bit sorry for her, Megan Weatherall always gets mentioned because she's a proper battler. And I actually still have a picture in my house that I confiscated. I think maybe someone else got a hand of it first and then passed it over to me because the Belgians did a little drawing. Did you ever see that? The Belgians did a drawing of her, and she was like holding a mace with spikes poking out of it, and there was
no, I haven't seen this. You know what?
Basically saying, avoid her, she'll kill you.
The girls were actually talking about that. There is a video we often watch when we're in camp, and it's one where Megan flies into 50-50 and sends the Belgian captain flying. Meg, listen, I mean, before I started playing futsal, I kind of only knew Megan on the pitch, but I tell you what, getting an orb through playing futsal, she's just got so much passion. So, you know, when you see her flying in these mad tackles, she just wants to win so bad. But yeah, she's a good personality to have around, and she played really well in Lithuania, definitely. And she had her moments too, I think. Again, just flying into big crazy tackles. The refs all knew her. I think in the last game going out, the ref came up to her and was like, "Number 4, you be careful," before the game even started. So she was well known over there too.
So, I mean, what way does Keith empower you in the team now? Because you're one of the more senior players. Do you have to kind of keep everybody together, or what's the atmosphere like? Does it feel like a serious formal environment? Is it very laid back? How do you find it?
It is quite laid back. You know, in fact, this last trip here, I mean, it was brilliant. One of the best trips I've been on in terms of togetherness. Mm-hmm. You know, all the players kind of get on. I brought my PlayStation over, and we had the big whiteboard, or whatever you call it, the big interactive screen, and with the PlayStation over it. And, you know, there was no cliques. Everybody was together all the time, and it was just really laid back, and obviously serious on game day when we had to be serious. But yeah, no, I think because Keith is quite laid back, it allows the sort of players to kind of be a wee bit more laid back as well and have that togetherness.
Hold on now. What were you playing on the PlayStation? This is important stuff here.
FIFA, of course, definitely. What else would you play? There's even futsal in it, so
that's true.
We'd give that a go as well. That was good.
for anyone that doesn't know, you aren't just a Rangers fan. You do have a favourite team in England.
Ish, I do. I mean, I'm not a diehard Chelsea.
I've seen you tweeting about Chelsea quite a bit lately. Is this just because they're doing that?
I thought that was
Hold
I
on.
thought that was a trick question there.
No, no.
um, I'm a Rangers fan. I'm a follower of Chelsea, but yeah, I mean the women are doing great, aren't they? I probably prefer actually watching the women than the men, to be honest. So that's probably what you see me tweeting, is it? About the
Yeah,
women's team?
MP's doing amazing things.
Yeah, she's brilliant. I mean, you were talking about role models earlier, like obviously, coming to the end of my career and looking to further my coaching career, she's definitely someone to look up to. Like, she's done a great job there. First woman in how many years to go to a Champions League final?
I know.
And
It's
she'll no doubt win it. That's
it.
how confident I am.
I love that confidence. It's terrific to see. You're talking about coming to the end of your career, and obviously, well, I say obviously, I know you've already been doing coaching, but tell us a bit about that transition. How have you found moving into the coaching aspect of it?
I love coaching. In terms of Crusaders, my girls I coach now, they're kind of 13, 14. Some of them I've had from their 6. So it's just, I've worked up the coaching ladder as I've worked up the kind of football ladder as such. I think when I first started taking them, I did my level 1. Then when they moved to kind of 7 aside, I went and done my level 2. Then when they moved to 9 aside, I went and done my UEFA B. So I've sort of moved up with them, which has been great because, all the girls inside out, and they're like a second family to you. They're all wee Crusaders diehards, of course, which is great. And then in the last couple of years, I've also got involved in County Antrim Excellence pathway as well. And also just before lockdown, I was doing a wee bit then with the Northern Ireland development squads as well. So it is good. I'm getting to coach the girls at Crusaders, but I'm also getting, to help out with all the other girls that are on the international pathway as well. So, there really are some smashing players coming through. It's even better to see so many clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having a junior academy, I know NIFL are talking about that being one of the terms to get into the Premier League and stuff. So you're seeing teams like Belfast Celtics and James's Swifts, local teams like that, really pushing forward and trying to get their kids' teams going as well, which will be great in years to come too.
So I don't want anyone to think you're hanging up the boots yet, though. I mean, you still got a wee while left in the tank, surely, do you?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Listen, I'll keep playing till I stop enjoying it or can't run anymore. I mean, we have some brilliant young players coming through. We've been in a transition for a wee while now, Crusaders. So, obviously, you've kind of got myself, Julie, Danielle, who are all well over 30 now, I suppose. We don't have a lot of players.
So much for the way you worded that.
Say nothing. Then we don't really have a lot of players kind of in their late 20s. Maybe only really Lisa Armour that I can think of. But so we're kind of missing those players who are, I suppose, meant to be in their peak. But then behind that, then you've got a couple of players who were born 2000, 2001. That's your Emily Wilsons, Caitlin Hamiltons, who really are still so young, but I feel like they've been around for forever. I mean, Emily Wilson was our top goal scorer when she was 14 in the Premier League. You can't even play now when you're 14. So she really has been around a long time. And then behind them, you've got, I think there's 6 2002s. That was kind of the bulk of the girls that won the last NIFL Academy League. That's like your Holly Otters, your Beth Chalmers, Maddie Clifford in nets. I mean, she's been unreal for us in nets. And then there's a couple of O3s coming through as well. So we're just kind of waiting on them, kind of growing up, and they're starting to stamp their authority now in the first team before we can really challenge the game.
There's that video that's viral. I think I saw it on Instagram. It's probably a TikTok thing. I don't do TikTok. Just throwing it out there. I'm 31, so I'm like, I'm not going to do TikTok. That's just me, right? But you know that it's like you're getting ID'd and they're looking to go, oh, I see the one, and it's because you're 1990 something, 1980 something, and you
Oh
go, oh
goodness.
no, that
Yeah.
makes me really old now apparently because I was born that side of the millennium. It absolutely sickens me that there are these players. You're rhyming off 02, 03 or whatever.
I know.
How awful is that?
It's absolutely crazy. I know, 2002, like, that's mad. What age was I? I think that was the year I did my GCSEs. That's crazy. I mean,
We aren't
I'm
old,
really
by
bad.
the way. Like, so anyone older than us in this, please don't feel terrible. But like, I was standing at an Irish league ground the other day, and there was a goalkeeper came out for Korean sub. He was on the subs bench, and he was 16. I thought I'm nearly like his age. It's just crazy how that happens. But it shows you the young talent we have here too. So we should celebrate it. But it does make me feel a bit old.
Definitely. Definitely. Here, you're happy to see kids coming through and getting opportunities. I mean, that's what our academy's all about. Definitely, bringing players the whole way through the pathway that want to play for the club, that are proud to play for the club, and then they go on to feature in our first team. And you know what? Even hopefully go on to do even better. Some of them, and potentially get moves across the water. I mean, we have a couple of players out in America at the moment, and a few other girls who are in the team that have returned home from America. So it's all about creating opportunities for as many players as you can, regardless of ability, um, so that they can go on and stay involved in football for a long time.
For girls coming through now, where do you see kind of the natural progression? Is it now sort of naturally England with the WSL and the way that is, or should they still be looking at? Cause there's not too many full-time leagues. There's full-time clubs in leagues, isn't that right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. To be honest, I don't really know too much about it, but and obviously the top teams, you're Chelsea, obviously, being a top team. I mean, I'd say they're all full time, but it doesn't mean all the girls that play in there are full time. Um, it's really exciting for over here. Our leagues came so far in such a short period of time. I'm actually quite excited to see where it goes. I know there's plans for another two teams to come up next year, um, which I think's right, because really we need to push other clubs to develop. I know at the minute there's only six of us, which doesn't really sound like an exciting league, but it is, because you could take points off anyone, play each other four times. But I mean, for us to kind of grow the game, I think the league does need to be bigger, as long as the teams are strong enough to come up and compete. Um, my wee sister, she actually plays for Lisburn Ladies. I think they're one of the favourites um, to win the championship. So I'm hoping they come up next year, and hoping maybe I get a wee game against them. So that'll be a nice one
Well, I was going to
before
say
I hang the boots up.
that in itself, Heather, would make sure you keep playing because who doesn't want to kick their sibling?
She'd be the one kicking me.
Really?
that well, we'll see. It'd just be more interesting to see who her daughter would want to win. She's the wee one that's playing in our academy at the minute, so surely she'd want me to win over her mum. You know what I mean?
Oh, here, tell you what, there's a tricky position to be in there. Good luck to her for that. She'll be an international diplomat by the end of that conversation.
She knows what side her bread's buttered. It'll be me all day long. I'll be the one bribing her.
Obviously, the coaching journey, then something that's really exciting you. I can feel the passion when you talk about it. How far do you want to go with it? Could you see yourself managing, a senior team at some stage?
No, I don't really have any interest, to be honest, at the minute anyway. I mean, that could well change. I don't really have any interest in coaching senior football. I enjoy coaching development football. I think potentially I'd be better at that, to be honest, as well. A coaching development football. I mean, you look at the likes of your Danielle McDowell's and stuff, who are going to go on and do amazing things in senior football when she hangs up her boots, like coaching senior football. So I'd be happy enough just to be kind of working under that and helping with a pathway and making sure all the girls that come through that are ready to go on and perform for our first team.
Don't underplay your talents here, Heather. Now, that's such a vital part in football is the development in those early years. If you get a good footing and a good standard of coaching, then it gives you every chance to go and where you want to go in your career. And it'll be a lot easier for those young girls coming through having what you're able to give them now than being yourself 14 years of age and going, can I play?
100%. We've worked really hard on developing a curriculum for Crusaders, so it just kind of makes sure that all the girls coming through are learning the same things at the same age, and you don't have, I suppose, coaches just winging it just because they want to. Just to create, obviously, the best opportunities for all the girls coming through, so that when they do reach a certain age, so maybe under 15 or under 17, before that, it doesn't matter about winning, literally. What does it matter if you win a match at 13? How do you even remember? Who cares? So, I mean, at that age, it's all about the kids trying to put in what they're learning and training, and trying to be creative and just do what they see rather than what the coach says, and developing that side of things. Um, but yeah, I always liken it when I'm speaking to the parents and stuff, I always liken it to algebra. There's no point in going to learn how to do algebra if you can't add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So it's important that the kids learn the right stuff when they're younger, and then when it does become more competitive and you want to go out and win games, they're all able to do the basics so that you can actually do a wee bit more then with them when it comes to 11 aside.
And that's such a culture change, isn't it, to how we thought not too long ago in terms of football and development, because there's lots of coaches who from the very first training session ever, and I can think back to as a kid playing football, it was, blood, sweat and tears, you better win the game, and lots of people shouting at you, and you're like, okay.
Listen here, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of coaches like that, so we've a long way to go in terms of that, in my opinion. Some of the things I hear on the sideline, like, I wish you could write a book about it and it'd probably be comedy bestseller, to be honest. But I mean, there are teams out there who'll go and they'll try and drag in the best players at whatever age group, and they're going to even win an 8-0 and 10-0 and stuff like that. But what's the point in that? You'd rather maybe it be a 1-each draw or a 2-each draw, and the kids have loads of opportunities to defend and attack, and really they're learning more than going out and hammering somebody 10-0, and they pick up stupid habits and they think they can skin 3 players and stick it in the top corner every week, when they get older, they're not going to be able to do that. It's different.
Yeah, I'm loving the algebra analogy. That's now going to be...
That's copyrighted. Don't be using that one.
Here, I should have asked you this earlier, but when you were talking about FIFA, who's your biggest competitor then? I'm guessing you kind of fancy yourself at FIFA because you brought the play.
Well, I think me and Rachel McConnell were on 1 each in our games. Alice beat me once, but we'll not talk about that. I was having a bad day. She was Celtic and I was Rangers, and she beat me, so I'm not happy with her. But apart from that, I don't think anybody else beat me. Rachel's very good at it as well, Rachel McConnell. So bit of a toss-up there. She'll say her, obviously, but we're 1 each, so best out of 3 next time I'll win.
Nice. And is this like, how competitive does that get? Because those are like the silly things that you could accidentally fall out over, aren't they?
It was funny because the first day we set it up, you had a couple of girls going, "Oh, I haven't played this in about 8 years." And then you watch them, you're like, you're a spoof. You're sitting at home, flat out on it over the weekends. A few hustlers in the team.
Oh, I play Xbox.
Aye, there was definitely a few hustlers, put it that way. But yeah, no, it was good crack. There was a few girls that aren't really into that, and they didn't play, obviously. So, but it was definitely good. It was a bit of a time filler.
You mentioned your dad earlier in the army. You played in a really cool army match. I don't know how many people know about this, a centenary game, and you took on the German army, basically.
Yeah, better to be on the football pitch than somewhere else, isn't it? Yeah, that was an amazing experience. Yeah, where were we? Notts County. It was a centenary of the Somme. Wasn't even the Somme. What am I talking about? But I think there was sort of 4,000 or 5,000 people at it. We were in a week-long training camp. It was the centenary of Pharmacist Day. I can't even get my words out, but yeah, that was amazing. There was again loads of media stuff at it. Then it was brilliant. That was definitely one of my favorite football games, like by far. I was actually supposed to play there for Remembrance Day last year. I got a call up the UK Armed Forces team, so it's like a mixture of the Army, Navy and Air Force. So we were supposed to play Chelsea's development team at their pitch for Remembrance Day last year, and then COVID hit.
Oh.
They ended up in lockdown again, so I missed out on that. So I was really gutted because Chelsea, obviously. So hopefully that comes around again. We get an opportunity to do that. So fingers crossed.
By the way, this is the same Chelsea earlier. You said, is that a trick question?
Well, you know what I mean. I actually seen one. It was funny because I was on a course, and the first time I ever got a call about that, I was on a course, and the game that I had to sit and say, no, I can't go, I'm on a course, was supposed to be against Rangers at Ibrox.
Oh.
Well, but now the game ended up, I think what happened was Rangers done better in Europe than what they thought, the men's team, so it ended up getting postponed anyway. So, but had I missed out on that, I'd have cried.
That would have been the real sickener.
Yep, definitely.
So
I think I would have been able to hang my boots up after that, playing Ibrox, definitely.
I know, but people, if they're wondering how this came about as well, like there was a full like recruitment thing you had to go and you had to like try out and stuff. It wasn't just random.
The army thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have trials every year. So, well, yeah, every year. Yeah, so you just have to go over for the full week, and it was mostly games, really, I suppose. But it was good. There are some really good standard of players in that team. Libby Dixon, she came through Man City's younger setup, and then obviously went and joined the army. She was playing at Middlesbrough this season. Another girl, Kelly Aldridge, she was playing for Yeovil until they went into the WSL, and then because they were going sort of closer to full time, because she was in the army, she couldn't get the time off. So she ended up having to move. I think she's back at Yeovil now, but she never got the opportunity to play in the WSL because of her job. But she's an unbelievable player, brilliant. So it is a decent standard, it's good.
Are you still an Army Reserve? You were an Army Reserve at the time.
Yeah, haven't really got to do quite a lot, obviously with COVID, but yeah, still chipping away at it.
What is that like? I have no idea other than thinking it's far too much physical exercise for my liking.
That's the best part about it.
I just couldn't do it.
I'm a medic, so a lot of stuff I do, obviously courses and stuff, so medical training, so which is a world away from what I'm doing in my normal job. I'm in the civil service, so working for the Department of Finance, which is all to do with invoicing and stuff like that. So, I mean, I did PE teaching at uni, which I'm not using my degree. So I've always kind of been an active person and like kind of being up on my feet doing stuff. So I kind of regret maybe not joining the army properly when I was younger. So it's kind of helps bridge the gap a wee bit because I can pick and choose when I do it. And I mean, I'm getting away on so many amazing football opportunities as well, so it's brilliant.
Do you know what though? It shows you're not a very predictable character. When you look at all those different strands, the algebra now makes sense with a day job, doesn't it? But looking at all those different things that you do and you're interested in, you have a few tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of them people who could probably pick up a new hobby every day if there was enough time in the day to do it. But I like being busy. I always have more energy about me when I'm busy. I actually, some people like to have a wee break and go for a nap or whatever, but that actually, no, I'd rather just be flat out all the time. So
have you always been like that when you were tiny? Were you always just like full of beans?
I don't even remember. I don't know. I think when I was young, I mean, where we lived, we were quite fortunate. There was quite a lot of fields and stuff up above where we lived. So I think I spent most of the time out playing football in the street or building tree huts or trying to dig holes. I don't know. But um, always been an outdoors person, definitely.
Oh, makes total sense and everything that you've been able to do. It's just anything to kind of be active, keep active, and not hit that pause button. And with that, then, with the year that we've just had, has it been tough? Because I think people that are so used to being social butterflies, so used to being outdoors all the time, have struggled to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the first lockdown wasn't too bad. Probably the weather really, and I mean, we were all hopeful. We were all waiting for the next announcement, thinking we were going to get out. But I mean, that last lockdown, the sort of winter one, was really difficult. I mean, I found it difficult. Um, just didn't really have a lot of motivation to do much. Now, obviously, playing in the Premier League, we were really fortunate that we were allowed to still train, and you know, that was the only thing you were really getting outside to do, wasn't it? So you kind of look forward to that and seeing your mates, and we were really fortunate. You know, I felt sorry for some of the girls playing in the championship and stuff who weren't lucky enough to be able to do that. But I mean, you were just buzzing each week to go to training and see your mates and have a laugh, and it was a nice wee rest from kind of sitting around the house. I mean, I was working from home as well, so you're just stuck inside all the time. It's not great.
No, working from home, the novelty wore off quite quickly. I think initially you're like, well, this is great. I don't need to do the old commute and all the traffic. That's all right. And then quickly go, I'm sick of looking at these four walls.
Yeah, 100%. I've been working on a rota for quite a while now, so I'm kind of maybe working from home for 4 days and then I'm in the office for two. So it's nice being able to do both. Um, all my staff, they're all working from home, so it's doing that from a different angle, managing staff who are at home and I may be in the office or whatever. It's a wee bit different that way, um, but like you say, the working from home, yeah, the novelty wore off quite quickly, definitely. But what is nice now that we're sort of getting into the later mornings, being able to go and exercise before you actually log in and stuff like that. It's quite nice, but I had no motivation to do it during the winter when it was dark and cold and wet or whatever. But so hopefully through the summer we'll work from home, so we can keep doing that.
You're one of these freaks of nature that can get up early and go for a run then.
Yes, I'm glad the gyms are open. So I'd rather go to the gym in the morning. I always feel like I have more energy in the morning, to be honest. Sets you up for a good day, puts you in a good mood. Um, More likely to eat better if I went to the gym in the morning. Whereas once you kind of miss out on that, it's a downhill slope. You'd be like, might as well just have this bag of crisps. So definitely more of a morning person.
Yeah, and I will just say for anybody listening to what we're saying, take Heather's advice, don't take mine. You'll end up in the path if you follow me. I just like talking. Heather's the one playing international level sports, so it kind of makes sense.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help. I'm out every evening, so I kind of have to go really before work or at lunchtime. So, and I think it's a wee bit calmer and quieter at before I start work. So, because I don't really get time in the evenings to do it, so and I have to do it, or else I definitely will be hanging my boots up. Can't get away with just going out and running the training without actually putting the hard work in the gym or whatever else.
I love that you have a big smile on your face, and sort of every conversation you seem to have. That's a really nice way to be in life. If we were to kind of end on a somewhat philosophical note, what kind of advice would you give to any young players looking to try and have a career similar to yours and have big sort of dreams? What would you tell them?
Come to Crusaders. No, I'm only joking.
By
um,
the way, that's what you mean.
just enjoy it. It goes back to what we were speaking about. People get caught up in results and stuff like that. But like, even thinking back, I know you said about winning the league and stuff like that. But my favourite memories are just being with my friends and, having fun and enjoying football and learning from the players around me or above me and stuff like that, because it really is a blink of an eye and it's done. Um, you know, I'm 35 now. It's just gone like in a flash, and then have no regrets as well. Don't kind of think back and go, you know what? When I was 21, I wish I'd have done this a wee bit better or a wee bit harder. Just have no regrets and enjoy it.
It's a lovely note to end on. I've really enjoyed talking to you, Heather, and I'm really glad you could come onto the podcast this week. So thank you very much.
No problem, Michael. I've enjoyed it too. So I've got a bit of a complex now about my age, but
don't pin me on me. I said very young.
I only brought it up before you did. That's all it was.
Well, I'm a gentleman, so I'll never mention a lady's age, but there we are.
Well,
thank you.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Thank you for listening to the Michael Clark Show podcast. You can follow me at @mclarkshow on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Check back every Wednesday for a brand new episode, which you can download as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also watch the entire interview via my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/The Michael Clark Show. And if you like our theme song, it has been kindly provided by the brilliant SX70. Search for SX-70 on Spotify to stream their music. Until next Wednesday, take care. I'll speak to you soon.